Welcome back to another video update on the Lutheran Missal. Today I want to talk about prayers. 53,000 prayers. That's what we found when we entered the contents of more than 45 different sources, recording the incipit, the first few Latin or sometimes German words of every element of every Mass. When we had done this, then we could assign scripture references to the psalm verses and the readings in order to make this far more useful information. Here, for example, we can see on the second Sunday of Lent, Reminiscere, the ancient sources, the late medieval German sources, and the post-Reformation Lutherans pretty much all agree that Matthew 15 ought to be the gospel reading for this day. But with regard to the prayers, it's more difficult. We can't assign a scripture reading to them, of course, and we can't refer to a specific official version of the prayers. We're not going to find it in the Vulgate or anything like that. So how can we determine which prayers are found in common from one missal to the next when the prayers themselves tend to vary? The word order, the word selection, even the word that begins the prayer may be different from one missal to the next. But if you compare the prayers side by side, you realize these are indeed the same prayer. Thankfully, there was an attempt to catalog all the prayers of Western Christianity that we found. This is a 10-volume work called the Corpus Orationum. Here you can see prayer 5471 from volume 8, begins with Sentiamus. We were able to get our hands on all 10 of these volumes. We scanned them, digitized them, converted them into a searchable corpus, and now we can cross-reference that corpus with the incipits that we've already entered in order to identify the unique prayers. So for example, with Augsburg 1510, Ember Saturday in September, it begins with the two words Omnipotens Sempiterne, Almighty and Eternal God. Now there's actually probably 2,000 or 3,000 prayers that start this way. It's probably the most common way to begin a prayer. And you can see that in our official texts, we've so far identified about 30 different prayers that begin this way. What makes them unique is the last word, which we also record as the official name of the prayer. So I'm going to search in the corpus for any prayer that begins with Omnipotens Sempiterne but ends, as Augsburg does, with the word Futura. I have about a dozen matches here, and I'll look at the ones that begin with Omnipotens. Here's the full text according to the corpus, and I can see that it is not at all a match with this prayer. The same thing is true of the second result, Futura, Gaudia, nothing about it matches. Sometimes what we find is that because the corpus uses a synonym, you have to employ more than one search to find a match. So I'll look for another word, Omnipotens Continentium. And this one is actually a near perfect match. In fact, the only word that doesn't seem to match is the very last one, which I searched for at first. Instead of Aeterna, our missal says Futura. Otherwise, this is the same prayer. So I'm going to add this prayer from the corpus to our list of official texts here. And then I can assign this official text to the instance in Augsburg 1510. So I've done so, and it takes the liberty of assuming that it knows what the last word found in Augsburg is based on the official version and corpus. I actually want to replace this. So here we have recorded what is written in the manuscript, and this is the official text according to the corpus. Then I'll go to the next record. This is from Bamberg 1490. Same occasion, begins with the same words, 99% likely to be the same prayer. And it is. It ends with the word for Futura. So in this way, can go through the prayers rather quickly. I'm looking at the first and last words because there's really not going to be a whole lot of variation if they begin and end the same way for the same occasion. Futura, futura. And after doing 4 or 5 and not finding any variation, I'm going to copy this down for all of the prayers for Ember Saturday in September. And they all are ending with the word futura. I'll randomly spot check a couple in the middle here. Omnipotens, sempiterne, futura, futura. If we were to look at each one individually, it would certainly be diminishing returns, and it would take a couple extra years to get this done. So I have, with 99% degree of certainty, identified that the prayer on Ember Saturday in September is this prayer, Omnipotens Sempiterne Futura. And then I would go on to the next prayer that has not been cataloged, Orimus Delectissimi Nobis. Now, the purpose of doing this, assigning every prayer to an official text, is to make all of the prayers in our missals searchable. For example, I can go to any text and say, show me all of the prayers in any missals under any occasion that use this prayer. There are times where a prayer is used, the same prayer is used on multiple occasions. This prayer, for example, is found in several missals in the votive mass for against sudden death, in a few missals against pestilence, and in one occasion for Saint Roch. Why is this helpful? Well, if we were to translate this prayer, first of all, we can see that it was translated by the Lutherans, Spangenberg, in 1545. So if we were looking for an evangelically correct version of this prayer, we could find it in Latin in Spangenberg. Secondly, having determined what the proper translation is and perhaps comparing this with other prayers that we might find in English, whether through the Anglicans or from TLH. Then if we encounter this prayer again in against pestilence, we won't accidentally translate it twice because we see that this is one prayer used in several occasions. Right now we have about 1,100 unique prayers that we've found. So when we're done assigning every incipit to a prayer, then we'll begin the process of going through determining which occasions we're going to use, which prayers we need to translate or find existing translations for, following the principle of the Reformers that where necessary, any prayers are to be evangelically corrected. At this point, we have assigned, of the 53,000 prayers, we've assigned 17,000 of them, and there are roughly 36,000 left to go. So if you'd like to be part of this project, simply send me a note and I'll be happy to put you to work. Let's see, you could work on the visitation and figure out which one of these 30 prayers, or perhaps another prayer that we haven't yet added, is to be prayed on the day of the visitation. Thanks for watching.